Organic material on soda guns, chicken kept past its discard date. That's just a taste of the violations inspectors uncovered at Valley restaurants this week. The Guru Palace of India at Baseline Road and Gilbert Road in Mesa. 3 major health code violations. Cooked chicken kept past its discard date. A bag of diced cheese not kept cold enough. Baked potatoes not at the proper temperature. The Devil's Advocate Bar and Grill on University Drive off Rural in Tempe. 3 violations. No certified food manager on site. No paper towels at a hand wash sink. Orange organic material on soda guns. The Dog Hoss at Chandler and Price Road in Chandler. 3 violations. An employee not washing his hands correctly. An employee handling raw beef patties, then bread buns without washing his hands. A container of raw eggs above dressing and sauces. The Black Bear Diner on Alma School Road off Queen Creek Road in Chandler. 3 violations. An employee grabbed raw eggs, then toast. Raw beef stored above cooked ham. Organic food debris on a slicer. And the place with the most health code violations? Tampapo Ramen at McClintock and Southern in Tempe. 4 major violations. The Tampapo Ramen had several employees washing their hands without soap. An employee handling dirty dishes, then not washing up. Hand sanitizer stored directly over spices. And cooked pork and corn not kept cold enough. The restaurant is now on notice to clean up or could face legal action. Jason Berry for Arizona's Family.
And now on to our Dean's List. These are the places with perfect health inspection scores. Matt's Big Breakfast downtown at 1st Street in Garfield and Phoenix. The Broad House on Scottsdale Road and 2nd Street in Scottsdale. And the Grotto Cafe, Cave Creek, and 65th Street in Cave Creek.
And Sushi Nola Roll on McDowell and 59th Ave here in Phoenix. Jamba Juice on Bell and Grand and Surprise. And Backyard Taco at Ellsworth and Riggs in Queen Creek.